Adonai, thou inmost fire, self-glittering image of my soul, strong lover to thy bride's desire. Call me and claim me in control. I pray thee, keep the holy tryst within this ring of amethyst. For on mine eyes the golden sun has dawned, my vigil slew the night. I saw the image of the One. I came from darkness into light. I pray thee, keep the holy tryst within this ring of amethyst. I, me crucified, me slain, interred, arisen, inspire, Taro, me glorified, anointed, filled with frenzy fire. I pray thee, keep the holy tryst within this ring of amethyst. I eat my flesh, I drink my blood, I gird my loins, I journey far. For thou hast shown the rose, the rood, the sword, the silver star. I pray thee, keep the holy tryst within this ring of amethyst. Prostrate, I wait upon thy will, mine angel, for this grace of union. O let this sacrament distill thy conversation and communion. I pray thee, keep the holy tryst within this ring of amethyst. Now, a very dear friend of mine, Donna Gordon, had this ring made quite a few years ago when I told her I didn't have a bishop's ring. She had to find that amethyst that big. She had to find somebody that would actually engrave that eye in the triangle and the diving dove. Put OTO on one side and Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica, EGC, on the other. And, wow, that's probably the most precious material possession I have. Anyway, thank you, Donna. I know you watch every day. What I wanted to talk about briefly, I just sort of gave an example of it right there. But let me first of all return my ring to its bags so it I don't misplace it. Okay. Now that obviously that was from Crowley's Wake World. That's the invocation of the ring, and at every step of her initiatory trip up the tree of life, the main character, Lola Daydream, kisses her holy guardian angel to take the next degree, if you will, the next step up the tree of life. And it's just wonderful. And obviously it's written by Aleister Crowley. And but if I were to try, especially as a young, early fledgling magician, if I were to be called upon to write an invocation similar to that, that I would take at each step of my journey, ideally I'd be called upon to pour out my soul onto the page and compose an invocation myself. And that would obviously be the only true thing to do. But it's really difficult. Not all of us have resonated with the poetic voice to such a degree that we can pour such neshimatic, if that's a word, neshimatic emotional, spiritual yearnings and ecstasies out onto the page. Shakespeare was good at that. Crowley was good at that. I'm not particularly good at that. There are times. That's why I'm a songwriter. But it occurred to me, and over the years, it's been demonstrated to me that works, especially poetic or musical works, that are already triggering those responses within your own neshama, that part of your soul, that is important for you to trigger and to identify with as the foundation, the platform upon which you stand to proceed with your magic. If you've already got something that does the trick, use it. The other day I posted a picture of my sort of ideal magical circle, and this was a circle I designed many years ago, being inspired by the mysteries of the Holy Grail as enshrined and glorified by the OTO Grail initiatory mysteries. And there was a line from Coleridge's Kubla Khan, or that starts off, "In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree." And one morning on my morning walk, I just got carried away just by the syllables. "In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan." And I bumped myself into an altered state of consciousness that would be the envy of every Goetic magician who ever tried to whip himself into an altered state of consciousness in order to evoke a demon or to invoke the Holy Guardian Angel or any other magical working. And so in my circle, I used another line that it must have been Coleridge on opium or laudanum or something, but he ends it up with, "Weave the circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he on honeydew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise." It's just so freaking awesome. And with the 3x3 mysteries of the OTO and Grail initiations and the Gnostic Mass and things like that, and ninth degree kind of stuff. Already there, that 3x3 was triggered in me, and so that's better than all the Kabbalistic things in Hebrew and the whole. My circle is protected with weave the circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he on honeydew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise. See what it does? That's what invocations are supposed to do. That's what banishings are supposed to do. That's what evocations are supposed to do. They're supposed to get you someplace, and then you do your magic from that place. And quite frankly, I read the invocations and such from the Golden Dawn material. And there's a couple lines in everything that sort of, that's cool, you know, but most of it's just sort of tedious. Oh, thou who art so great, thou art so big, and we're so damn impressed down here. It seemed like a cold formality. And many years ago, we performed an exorcism on a friend of ours who had been, who felt that he had been cursed. Actually, he got a letter informing him in no uncertain terms, I have cursed you, okay? And the circumstances were I'm still not at liberty to talk about the exact circumstances. But the circumstances that resulted in him being cursed revolved around a mistake, a silly mistake, a flaw in the perception of something that was just the opposite. Okay, so something really good was misinterpreted as something terrible, and then in reaction, the curse was thrown. And it was just very similar, because at the time we were watching the old 1933 Max Reinhardt film, first Shakespeare film ever done in sound, Midsummer Night's Dream. And which of course, if you're familiar with the play, deals with a misunderstanding, as somebody's eyes were bewitched. Titania's, the fairy queen, her eyes were bewitched that when the first thing she beheld when she woke up, she would fall desperately in love with. And it's a gay romp, okay? But she got her eyes bewitched by some magic juice from an herb. And toward the end of the play, she gets that curse removed from her eyes by another magic herb that's squeezed into her eyes by Oberon. And it's and there's lines, see as thou wast wont to see, you know. There's magic words. There's magic words that bewitches her eyes. There's magic words that takes the curse off of her eyes. So part of the exorcism of this piece of paper that our friend was so upset about receiving, we went to the Huntington Gardens in San Marino, California, just a couple blocks from where Jack Parsons had his home on Orange Grove in Pasadena. Uh, and there's a Shakespeare garden there, and it had every herb mentioned in the Shakespeare play. So we found those 2 herbs, went to the little fish pond area of the tropical section of the Huntington Gardens, sat down where we could be quiet, did a little banishing invocation, things like that around it, and then used those lines from Shakespeare to and squeezing those plants or rubbing their chlorophyll all over the paper, and we felt quite proud of ourselves. And actually, eventually, nothing came about it. David did die a few years later, quite a few years later, but it wasn't because of that curse. I don't think he had his own menagerie of demons in his life to deal with. Bless his heart, we miss him very much. But anyway, if you can't come up with a proper invocation, like good magicians are supposed to, do an invocation before you blow your nose magically, because you want to connect with God. You want to connect directly to the source. Nothing between you and the source. So everything that you do after the invocation, you're doing as the visible representation of the invisible omnipotence. That's the Solomonic formula. Well, for Monday night magic class, I whipped up this thing that I called the Mark Twain Oracle, and it's probably here's my Mark Twain Oracle in a Indian matchbox, and all it is really are 88 cards. Whoa. 88 cards, and each of the cards has a phrase taken from Tom Sawyer. And some of them are really short, and some of them are really long. And then I've got 2 dice, a red pair of dice and a green pair of dice. And I shuffle the cards, lay out the 36 of the cards, leaving a stack of the remaining 88, lay out a grid of 6 by 6, and ask Mark Twain a question. It's a divinatory thing, like something you do on New Year's Eve or something. Or you would ask a question and roll the dice, and the green dice, the number on the green dice tells you the number going from left to right in a line, and the red dice is which column it's in. And it's really fun, because just face it, Mark Twain's fun in and of itself. And if you don't get the right answer, you just fill the blank with the remaining from the top of the remaining cards, so you have a full grid again. Then ask the question again. You can even say, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And you get into a conversation with Mark Twain, and sure enough, you start to open yourself up. And there was I had a little invocation that also came from Tom Sawyer, and I've got it written down here somewhere. Yeah, and it's also from Tom Sawyer. When finished, set the deck on the table before you and recite the Huckleberry Finn invocation. Devil follow corpse, cat follow devil, warts follow cat. I'm done with ye. Then you throw the dice. Okay. Now, admittedly, it was kind of just for fun. And it was for a Monday night class. And it was magical, but it was mostly just fun. In the meantime, I've used the Mark Twain Oracle. I've carried this with me around the freaking world, and most of the time it's more accurate, better, and more insightful than anything I can get out of the tarot. In a jam, it's a lifesaver. Anyway, the following week, our class member, Anne Quinn, okay, who is, or at least at the time, I haven't seen Anne in a long time, was a very, very talented, awesome flamenco dancer. And she made a Shakespeare oracle. And instead of quotes from Tom Sawyer, she had quotes and made cards from quotes from Shakespeare's The Tempest, which is Shakespeare's most overtly magical tale. But what was most impressive to me wasn't so much the quotes for the answers, like you rub the sore when you should bring the plaster. How many times does that answer a question? Keep to your cabins, you do assist the storm. So you can see how that would go. But what was most impressive was that she created an invocation and a banishing. Now, just reading them is awesome, and I'm going to read them to you as an example of what you could do with you could do this with Alan Moore quotes. You could do this with whatever it is that turns your neshama on. But anyway, she gave 2 examples of she started the ceremony off, and because she's a dancer, okay, the words I'm about to read, she interpreted with her hands and her entire body, and she made a circle as if to banish as she's doing this. Okay, and then at the end of the banishing and the invocation, then we draw the oracle card, get our answer, and then she banishes again with her hands. You can almost see stuff. And here's how she opened. No tongue, all eyes. Be silent. All hail, great master, grave sir, hail. I come to answer thy best pleasure, be it to fly, to swim, to dive into the fire, to ride the curled cloud, to dread the ooze of the salt deep, to ride the sharp wind of the north, to do me business in the veins of the earth. Come forth, I say, come. What seest thou else in the dark backward and abysm of time? Some oracle must rectify our knowledge. Now, if that doesn't set you up, okay, and of course that's all up from The Tempest. She's picking modularly things from the Tempest. Something you could do too with your favorite inspirational poet. Then she spread out the 36 oracular cards face down in a fan on the floor. Each class member came forward and selected a card at random and read it silently. When we had all selected our cards, Anne ended the consultation and sent Shakespeare on his way, the banishing here. Again, her words were accompanied by the most beautiful and dramatic gestures. Here cease more questions. Our revels are now ended. These actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits, and are melted into air, into thin air. We are such stuff as dreams are made of, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Then to the elements be free. No tongue, all eyes, be silent. When she finished and took her seat, we all sat absolutely silent in stunned awe. Then everyone started talking at once. Okay. That's my little, that's my sermon for today. What is it? I went to movies as a kid a lot. As a matter of fact, I went to the movies twice a week. Anything to get me out of Nebraska. And so I have been used to having my soul moved by different scenes of movies. So moved that sometimes I would see the same film as many as 5 times in one weekend, just to get that feeling from that one moment, that one scene. It got me there. And I liked where there was. You could do the same thing with whatever it is that gets you there. And if you are on the path of ceremonial magic, you're obviously familiar with, or going to be familiar with, the classic elements, the modular elements in the classic Golden Dawn style ceremonial magic operations. It's what Crowley built his magic off of. He used it as a pattern. But Crowley caught on to this feeling thing, this dramatic thing, and did a marvelous attempt at getting everybody on board with this, with his rites of Eleusis, his 7 rites of Eleusis, which he used poetry, most of it not his own. Shelley, Swinburne. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to leave you with today, to see if you have in your library of classics, or your library of poetry, or your CD, or your record library, if you have the makings of invocations and banishings that mean a lot more to you than Greek and Hebrew, at the moment anyway. Another thing, and I'll probably show it to you. You know, I've got this year in tarot thing that I used it for the Advent thing, the 22 days of magical Advent. But I ran across this in my tarot collection. Haru Raha Lodge, OTO, Millennium Mania, celebrating the end of 2,000 years of Christendom. And this, I created this for Monday night class and for Dr. Art Rosengarten's Tarot Circle. and I made a booklet and everything else that that went with this. And let's see. Oh, that's upside down. Tokens for a Third Millennium. So this was 23 years ago tomorrow night. I premiered this at Dr. Art's Tarot Circle in San Diego. And so instead of saying this was designed for the change of the aeon, or excuse me, the change of the millennium, the bad see bad, the good see good. Ignorance is the greatest evil. Ignorant just look to God and see nothing but the devil. Temptation is the catalyst. The devil's advice is sage. Transmute a vice and you'll be transformed to greet the coming age. But anyway, got one of those for every... Now, I also made the box. I made this little box off of poster board or, poster board and a copy machine. I think I made 3 sets of these. One I sent to my publisher, Jen Johnson of Weiser, and I think I gave one to Art, and this is the only other one. This is a very rare. This is a limited edition. Anyway, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Why don't you grab your favorite poet or songwriter and whip yourself up a good, beautiful invocation. I pray thee, keep the holy tryst within your own ring of amethyst. See you tomorrow. Happy New Year's Eve Eve. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.